Hey everybody, today we're going to mute the colors in this room by redoing the brick fireplace. But we're not going to abandon the nice earthy wood tone completely. We're going to add a few accent pieces to it. The first and the biggest step is we're going to whitewash this brick. To do that, we're going to take some basic white latex paint and we're going to cut it and blend it with water, a 2-to-1 ratio. For our first physical addition to the fireplace, we're going to go with a floating mantle. Now, to do this and to do it cost effectively, we need to find good wood, which means that we need to shop around a little bit. But more than just shopping around, it's really about patience. You take a stack of lumber in your lumber yard, and what you want to look for is the fewest amount of knots in the wood. That way you get those long flowing patterns in the wood grain. Now, if you do that and you do it correctly, you can take one 2x6, stand it up, rip it through a table saw, and then all of a sudden you have two very clean pieces of wood with a really good pattern that you can use for basically anything. One small caveat for you: when you rip your boards to save money, you are going to have to sand a lot more, because when you stain wood, every single scratch shows up. If you look closely on the inside, you can see that I have these little fasteners securing all the joints. And that's because we don't want anything to twist or warp later. But we also don't want to have any screws or nails or anything on the outside to hold everything in place. So we glue it heavily, fasten it together, and it should look like one solid piece of wood, except for the little mortar joints that you can see if you look at it from the top, of course. The next step is to make a kind of a piece that we're going to mount to the brick that this can slide onto. The goal is for this to fit exactly inside of our mantle, and if you see here, I've rounded the corners of these 2x6 blocks. That way, with minimal effort, I can slide it right into place and it'll be snug. Now we're restaining. Every coat obviously, makes it a little bit darker, brings out the wood fibers. I'm using a mini wax that has a polyurethane built into it. That way I won't really have to do that at the end. But I'm also trying to keep track of the fact that I'm doing exactly 2 coats on everything that I'm going to install. That way it all matches. Crap. Now we're going to make 2 stained doors to cover up this crazy space where firewood would go. And if you look at the edges, halfway down it kind of cuts in. So I want to try and cover that up if my cat would allow me to show you. So we're going to make a thick frame that comes down and just makes one visual vertical line. I use rail and style joints because it's the best way I've found to sandwich a wood panel in place when you're framing outdoors. Notice I'm starting this at like a 45-degree angle. I'm hitting the back of the wood. That way I don't splinter everything when I run it through. These are all the pieces for my doors. I've already applied the first coat of stain because you really don't want to snap everything together and try and get like a sponge into these little tight spaces, and then it'll goop up and some spots will be darker than others. So I've got my female edges, I've got my male edges. They should snap right together and fit securely. After they're glued, they're going to feel like they were made that way, as if they had always been one piece. Oh yeah, that's a flawless fit. Now, if you get over to the edges, you're going to see that it's still pretty clunky and I haven't really done anything there, but that's okay because we can do that later. Now that we've drilled pilot holes into the mortar joints, we're going to put these anchors in place to hold our mounting brackets. Perfection. Now it's time to mount the floating mantle, and luckily there were already some holes there in the mortar joints that I could use, so I didn't have to drill new ones. And just like we wanted, our mantle snaps right into place. It's secure, it's firm, it's strong, and there's our finished product, our refinished fireplace area.